How do you write a song typically?
If there's lyrics, I tend to do lyrics first. A lot of times there's not lyrics, so I'll go to the piano first, often. Or I'll sit in front of a microphone and I'll sing on a weird vowel or something, and then I'll just go back and not listen to it, and I'll sing over it and see what weird stuff comes out, and I'll start to hear something. So I'll compose with the voice as an instrument, and like my sort of holy memory. Holy meaning like I don't remember exactly what I did at that moment, but I'll remember something else, and then it will turn into. So I'll do some like stacked vocal things. But yeah, I would say like the typical order of operations is lyrics, if there are some, then sit at the piano, find some melodies and chord progressions that I feel like I can build with, and then bring it into the box where I'll play with sounds and sort of see what comes from there. So, sometimes if I know it's going to be an ambient track, or I'm writing for a meditation program or something like that's very specifically New Age, I will start with the sounds first and create the palette. And then from there, like bring in some vocals, bring in some keyboard
So when
stuff.
you're writing lyrics, first of all, do lyrics matter?
It depends.
That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I say yes.
It depends
I
on a
say
bunch
yes.
of stuff. You say what?
But the general public has proven that that's not always true.
You mean like, yes, like they matter and that music is better when there are
Oh,
lyrics?
no, as in the quality of the lyrics themselves.
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. I agree. I mean, yeah, that's why I don't feel like I need to put lyrics on everything now. It's one of the reasons why I really love the New Age genre, because it gives me the freedom to, I mean, my second New Age album, half of it had lyrics, half of it was instrumentals. And it felt like a really coherent New Age album. And like, there's not a lot of genres where you can do that. Like have half of the songs, like have no words. Like people be like, wait, something's missing.
Right.
I forgot to bounce out a track, so it's one of the reasons why I feel like I have some freedom inside of New Age. But I think for me, the lyrics really need to be saying something that the music that the music is unable to say by itself. And I feel like as a composer, as I've progressed as a composer, and I call myself an experiential composer, even when I'm writing for choral groups, my theory is that if the singers are having an experience with the text, that experience is going to translate to the audience. I know a lot of composers that write for the audience and skip the performers, the singers, the orchestra, whatever. So, and even in my own experience of that train ride, I created an album that, like I said, wasn't dictating my experience, but allowed the listener to have an experience of their own, whatever that was needed at
Right.
the moment. Right. So that being said, if the lyrics are adding to that experience, it's sort of like music in a film score. You don't want the music to be distracting from the dialogue or the plot. You want it to be enhancing and helping the emoting of the characters. I think lyrics do the same thing for a song, or should at least. So if the purpose of the song is to like make someone feel seen so that they can sing along, like a Taylor Swift song, like all of the great lyrics of all of the music does something for the listener experience. And it's not to say that the music can't stand alone and it wasn't good enough music, but as a composer, it's been really interesting to see that I'm like, oh, I don't need lyrics. I've said what I need to say, and the music is doing that. The melody is doing that. This chord change is actually like doing that. And I think it's a really cool challenge as a instrumentalist to say, can I not use lyrics? And I consider myself a poet. Like I've been writing poetry and I've like been published as a poet. And so I always have a little bit of a poetic angle. I actually was in this workshop with Dan Wilson, and he listened to some of my pop stuff, and he's like, the song is great. The melody, he loved so much stuff about the music. He's like, what are you talking about? What are these lyrics about? They're like way too heady he's like, you're too smart for your own good. And I'm like, I hear the compliment in there, but I also am like, that's not what a pop song is supposed to be. Like, it's supposed to be really obvious. Right. And, so I always thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm like, and there was always a disconnect for me between like what I was wanting to say with the lyrics and what I was saying with the music, and like the genre expectations. So yeah, when I say it depends on the music, it depends on the genre, it depends on the purpose. Like there's so many things that I feel like lyrics depend on.
So the lyrics, there's that fine line between getting a really deep, long, novel-sized thought across to a listener and them actually getting it, you know? So like what you were saying is like, you said everything you wanted to say in those songs, and then he as a listener was just like, what the heck are you talking about? So, I mean, that to me, that's, you said it in the way, and then you have a choice as a writer. And this is some of the coaching I give young writers as well. You can keep it that way. You can just say, that's what I love. This is how I want it. This is how I feel. I'm the artist. I get to do it my way. Or you can actually go, oh, whoops, I really wanted them to feel what I was feeling. So I need to grow my writing style toward that.
Yeah. Yeah. That particular song was a tricky one. It's my song Keep. And that song ended up going to make the most money for me in any like licensing. It's been placed on like a ton of TV shows. It's won a couple songwriting contests. So like, you know, like all feedback, you take it with a grain of salt. I totally understood where he was coming from, and it made a lot of sense. And it really stuck with me as I went on to write what I think was simpler. Like I can say something complicated, but I can say it in a simple way, or I can like be more complicated with the music and have a simple thought. So that comment stuck with me, and I didn't change anything. And it went on to like pay my rent for a couple of years and like do all these things that like we want it to do. So, I mean, that's just such a lesson in like, take what you need and apply it how you need to moving forward. And like, also trust your gut if you're onto something. And maybe the reason it worked in licensing so well was because it was so nebulous and like, it wasn't telling it a particular story. So it could work under dialogue. It could work in different scenes, and it wasn't competing with the story that was being told on screen. So, you know, if I was going for a radio hit, maybe that it would have flopped. I mean, I didn't, but I think there's different reasons. So again, it depends.
Well, and I think it might have been different if you were trying to write a song to have the listener just sit there with their headphones on and not be watching a movie or not be watching a TV show, but really just absorb what it is you were expressing at that time. Yeah, it's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is kind of another thing that I love about most new age music that's doing it right. And I think that when I say right, that's very subjective, but I think that it's a genre where, as like music healers and all the other elements of, you know, why you want to create music in this realm, allow the listener to have their own experience versus a lot of music out there people listen to because it will dictate the experience. Like you can listen to some like happy, cool pop song, and like, you know that if you're in a bad mood, like that's going to lift your mood, or like you're going to listen to Katy Perry's Roar if you need some badass energy, right? Like you're like, I'm going to go to this music so that it can change me, versus I'm going to go listen to this music so that I can learn about myself, so I can process what I need. And it's not going to dictate anything. It's going to just enhance what I need to. It's going to shine a light on what I am, what might be in the shadows for me. So I think I've shifted out of like, not forcing, that's like a too harsh a word, forcing people to feel what I want them to feel in this particular song. Like, here is a sad song, you know, like there's a reason why they chose Sarah McLachlan's song for those animal commercials, you know? It forces you to feel that extra special, like heartstring, you know, and like, you can't get away from it. You cannot escape it. Like you will be trapped.
And you'll write a check.